Originally written October 5th, 2003. So that's 17 years. Beneath the sandy moonlight glaze, down the mission, past the pub, down the boat ramp, a kilometer left of the ferry, I sat in a nook of the abandoned pier's concrete columns. The warmth radiating on the cool July night was probably the most useful function the pier served in the last few decades. With a can of beer in my hand, for half a liter of beer costs less than any soft drink, I was in a splendid drowse. As I lost feeling in my body, the sometimes gusty wind was now just a sound interrupted by two voices, completely camouflaged by the at best dim light in my dark attire. My eyes caught sight of the owners of the voices' two friends. They went aboard a fishing stand on the banks of the Danube, ... Despite my warmth just a minute ago, T. Feeling safer, space, I decided to stay. I woke up the next morning, ... I skipped a stone 3 times. Was, is, will be, period. So that's a bit cringe, but whatever. 17 years it took to, so this was originally written senior year of high school, fall of 2003, 17 years ago. The July it's referring to is the July of 2002. And I stayed on a little, well, not a little island, a big island north of the capital of Hungary, at the north end of the island. I stayed with the people who ran the church, basically. They also had a little camp mission area there. And yeah, that's all true. The moonlight was out, I think. I guess we can look this up, you know, with the astronomical stuff. Some of this is fictionally added. It's kind of poetic. It's more of a straight essay. Now, it is interesting because I remember, this is not the first time. There will be another thing, hopefully, that we can read now that we're actually getting into what I wanted to talk about. This is not the first time that my memory of me writing this is, it was a bunch of run-on sentences. And I think I even mentioned that in one of these more recent videos within the last year or so. It doesn't seem that run-on at all. It doesn't seem that run-on at all. There's a trailing sentence here, despite my warmth just a minute ago, T period. I don't know, right? I don't remember, but it's pretty coherent. Okay. Now, we'll get to it, but it's interesting that it's a lot more coherent than I remember. Maybe because I want to block it out, right? This is not the only thing. The letter. Oh, we'll talk about that. That's really the core of it. That's 2006, so it'll take a while to get to that, perhaps. But yeah, I stayed on this little island in the north of, north of the capital. There's a big island where the Danube splits into. Down the mission, past with Google satellites or Street View, I think we can see it. Maybe that's another video. Let's get back to track here. Past the pub, there was a pub. This was a town of 600 people. 600 people in the winter. There are more maybe in the summer because it's on the Danube. It's nice, but 600 people. The cows literally came home. I do have a video of that, one of those crappy videos, just like with the guy jumping after the mat. Yeah, that quality. So the cows literally came home. The guy next door to us had all the cows. So there were 6 pubs for 600 people in that town. If we were on the street corner of like the main street and everything, that's where the church was. And from there, you could see 1 pub, 2 pub, maybe a sort of another pub, a little where I bought the beer. All right. So you could see at least 3 or 4 just from where I stayed in a small. Anyways, let's see. A kilometer left of. Okay, that's a bit. No, it's not a kilometer, but there's a ferry where you go down there. And the ferry also takes you back to the mainland on the other side, and you take a short bus ride, and you go to the castle of Visegrad. There's a castle there. If you've heard in kind of Central European politics stuff, they mention the Visegrad Four. it was in that castle 500 years ago that you had like the Hungarian king and the Polish king and a bunch of other people from that area who had like a little summit meeting 500 years ago. It was like one of the first international meeting things or whatever. But anyways, now the Central European countries call their little grouping the Visegrad group for that. I was at that castle, and and because I wanted to take a shortcut, I went up the hill there, and I ended up going on the hill, and I hit the kind of fencing or barrier area they have. It's just all cement now, and I could pull myself up, and I got in for free. I didn't have to go to the admission booth. Anyways, doesn't matter. If you're ever there, it's kind of fun. It's kind of a boring castle, fort, whatever. So I sat in a nook of the abandoned pier's concrete columns. Yeah, we will look at Google Street View because I know they have some of this. Abandoned pier's concrete columns. I'm not sure if we can see the concrete, but there is a street. If you're not going down on the river, there you can go down, and it's called Hajóutca, Boat Street. Right, you can come in, and it's kind of a steep drop, you know. But that street exists, and it's very interesting. You know, it looks like a pier, but it's like it's a little too close in. Like, what was ever there? I think it's a pier. And the word Hajós means boat street. So was there ever something there? I don't know. So the warmth radiating on the cool July night was probably the most useful function the pier served in the last few decades. So yeah, it was kind of warm out there, right? It was kind of warm out there. I was sitting there. It was kind of getting a little chilly. But the cement, the kind of rubble of the cement was still warm enough for me just to sit there, right? With a can of beer in my hand. Yeah, okay, that did happen. Again, this is somewhat fictional. In the real life version of events, I didn't have any beer. I did get drunk a few times in the yard there at the church, which was fun because it's a church and you got drunk there. But the point is, I was like 16 and 17. I was there in 2000. I was there in 2002, 2003 as well, 2004 and 5 is right. But in 2002, when I was there this whole summer, you could walk into one of these. There was a little bodega down the street. And even though I was about 16, 17, and the drinking age is 18, no one cares. So I just bought one of these, either liter or half a liter cans, aluminum cans. They just sell too. Just drank the whole thing in the yard, in the church's yard. But that was not here, you know. And yeah, it was funny because the beer costs less than like Coke, you know. Well, you know, might as well just buy some beer, you know. I was in a splendid drowse. Again, when I drank it, not here. I didn't, you know. As I lost feeling in my body, the sometimes gusty wind was now just a sound interrupted by two voices. Now, in the real world, I don't think I heard two voices. I don't remember that. I did see two, not camouflages, but oh boy. Oh boy, I'm not finding the word. It wasn't camouflage. It was silhouettes. Something close. Why am I thinking camo? Oh, because I write camo here. Duh. Completely camouflaged by the at least dim light in my dark attire. My eyes caught sight of the owners of the two voices, two friends. Yeah, so I just saw two kind of silhouettes off in the distance. All right, and it made me pretty sad because I was like, I don't have this. Now, we'll get to this. They went aboard a fishing stand on the banks of the Danube. I think somebody put, like with barrels or some plastic stuff, they constructed some little pier kind of far off in the distance. I could see silhouettes of two people, basically. I don't think I could hear them. That's again, my poetic interpretation here. They went aboard a fishing stand on the banks of the Danube. Yes, we just got through that. Despite my warmth a minute ago, plop, 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 feeling safer, I decided to stay. Well, despite my warmth, I don't know what I was getting there. Despite my warmth what? I don't know. Feeling safer, I decided to stay. Feeling safer about what? This stuff, I don't know. And it trailed, and there's a space after feeling safer. Feeling safer space. Yeah, this is where I kind of gave up with it, you know. So, I kind of describe. I woke up the next morning. Now, I didn't spend the night out there, right? So that's right. That's false. I skipped a stone 3 times, was as will be. Well, that's kind of cringe, you know. But the point is, that's interesting because I correctly described, again, with a little poetic license here, I described, you know, the setting pretty well. I was out there alone. I saw 2 people in the distance, silhouettes. I didn't know exactly who they were, 2 friends. It could have been, I don't know, whatever. But what I did not write down was, of course, the loneliness, just the sadness. I didn't write down that stuff. Maybe that's why I kind of skipped out. The last couple of sentences are sort of, what do you call it? Yeah, they were just kind of run-ons a little bit. But this last part, I skipped a stone 3 times. It's kind of cringe. I wish I didn't write this. Was, is, will be. Was, is, will be what? Well, sadness, the loneliness. And yeah, 17 years later, it's like, boy, I hate to be right, but boy, I'm right. You know, it's just, and again, it's not this. It's that I couldn't talk about this with anybody, right? Parents, of course, they're garbage, but nobody else. You just could not talk about these things. And you can talk about the letter, which we'll talk about later, you know. It's just, you know, and this was sophomore year, right? Sophomore year really sucked because that's when I, you know, what do you call it? Yeah, it was, it was that year that I started doing the website, stuff, and I kind of, that's when I kind of grew up, that, yeah, I was a good student and all that, but I had a passion for website stuff. I had a passion, or started to have a passion for writing, reading. It was a kind of second puberty of sorts, a sort of intellectual puberty. That's when I realized, oh, I'm not just going to be a cookie cutter or whatever. That's when I grew up. Or started to. Sophomore year. You know. 2002. Yeah, that was... Yeah, this was the tail end. That was September 11th as well. You know, that year. It was, the school year was 2001 to 2. This was the summer after. So it was 9/11. And 9/11... So this is the Danube incident, right? I've mentioned this before. This is the letter I wrote later. Timelines are important, right? But the stuff around 9/11 wasn't just 9/11, but it was also the, what do you call it? The oh man, I should remember these. I talked about it. The military school incidents where my parents threatened to send me to military school. Right? That was also what I couldn't talk about. Right? What I felt about that these fuckers just fucked me over. And the letter I wrote about it, about how shitty they were to me, right? But you can't talk about that with anyone. And that's what I saw in the distance, beneath the sandy moonlight glaze, right? As I saw 2 people there, and I was like, I don't have that. I don't have that. I can't tell anybody about these things. I can't tell anybody about the military school incident and how it's shitty. And this is not how I want to be treated, and this is shit. I didn't really see it, even on the more superficial things like making a website or writing about things or thinking about things and not just doing the schoolwork, because you had those. I wouldn't say I was a nerd. All right, fine. I had good grades, but with the internet and with the website stuff and doing it, and I started putting up games as well and blah. I had this passion for something different that wasn't just, oh, I'm going to be a nerd and make A's on everything. And I continued to get good grades, but there was just no drive behind it. It was just boring, busy work. I needed something more than just filling out worksheets and doing the usual dribble. That's where I kind of split off, you know, into my own thing. And that was part of it. You know, as I yearned for somebody who was like, or compatible, not a clone necessarily. That would be hot and beautiful and weird. Would that be incest? But there was just nobody. There was nobody that you could talk about the website stuff with. well, I like doing website stuff, and you know, it's fun to just put, you know, it's just fun. I remember the first time I put a website online. It was on Angel Fire, you know, and it had a headline. It was a heading, like an H1, H2, that sort of thing. It was like, look, I'm on the internet or something. It was green as well. Font color equals green. That was the tag, right? And it was like, whoa, this is on the internet. Anybody could see this. And this is amazing. Like, you're just broadcasting. That was just amazing, right? I mean, it's not like it was that new, the internet and the web. It wasn't that, but it was just like, whoa, this is totally different, you know? And you can't really, people used it, like people use it to consume now, and that's fine, but there just wasn't that, hey, let's build a website. I just didn't see that sort of passion in people, you know? People were just kind of interested, or, well, you know, they did their schoolwork, but there just wasn't anything, something different, you know? There really wasn't. And that's what I missed with it. That was the Danube incident, is I kind of saw people in the distance. And again, I don't know who they were. They were two friends. That's what I wrote down. Maybe they could have been two just separate random people over there. They had some kind of connection. I don't know what exactly, but it's like, I don't have that. There's no one I can talk to about. No one who's compatible. No one who's complementary. No one that there's just that connection with. You know? And in turn, you can talk about how you didn't have that connection with anybody else either. Right? That sort of thing. So, you know, I've touched on this. I mentioned the Danube incident before. I just didn't read the dopey little poem thing or whatever I put together a year and a half later, the fall of the next school year, of the next school year. You know? But I guess that's it, you know? Yeah, I'm glad how this turned out. I've been somewhat anxious about putting this out there. Because, again, I mentioned it before. I've talked about it, but it's like, oh, you know. And I printed this out many times before and everything. Yeah, but it's taken a couple of days for me to just say, no, this is what I want to talk about, you know. There's a couple more of these sort of things, printouts and various little things. But I just wasn't that anxious today about it. I kind of knew it was just going to happen today. Or I guess I'm kind of a night owl, so until I go to bed at, 2, 3, or 4, really. That counts as today, right? Yeah. But, yeah. So I guess that's it. 18 minutes. Isn't that amazing? 18 minutes. So yeah, it's a paragraph, and again, it's amazing because I remember this is a lot more incoherent, a lot more like it's a bunch of run-ons and nothing. But it's not incoherent in the text. It's incoherent in that I don't actually write about my emotions. The important stuff I leave out. You know, the was, is, will be. What is it that I can't write down? Well, the alone. The not having anyone around. You know, that's what it was. That's what it is right now. That's what it will be. Well, unfortunately, that's true, but, you know. That's what you got. Huh. So yeah, it's just... I've just been burned, let's say, in the last couple of years. Do we want to be mysterious, just like in this letter, and not... Yes, let's be vague. So there are just some people that make you feel like they get you, but they... No, it's just all kind of a chameleon act. Yeah. And you realize they don't actually have the same values as you, and they're just kind of phonies. Yeah. Anyways, on that positive and weird note, I'm sure we'll get around to that in hopefully not 17 years. But, yeah, I'm glad this is out there. I'm glad that, you know, I'm talking about this. We can maybe do some other stuff later, but that's it.